The weekly transit.
Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth. I'm Scott Tajarian. I'm an interpreter of this language. Join me and my co-host Ingrid Iverson, who helps bring an even more practical look at this astral language. The weekly transit is here to bring clarity to the chaos, so you can ride the planetary waves instead of the planets riding you.
The weekly transit.
Good morning, Scott.
Hi, Ingrid. How are you, Ingrid?
Oh man, this week has been very intense.
Yeah?
I feel like yesterday I finally kind of got it all together. I feel like I was just really depressed and exhausted. My hamstring has been irritated for like weeks. So I haven't really been at the club. So that's been really stressing me out.
No.
But I went.
You haven't been able to work?
I just went back this weekend.
Okay.
And I was really scared because it still felt like it was probably like 65% better. But
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what if I just make it worse and then I can't work for longer?
Yeah.
But I think it went well. I took it super, super easy. I'm like, how slow can I move?
Yeah.
Like, let's do the least amount of work.
Yeah.
And I had 2 really good days at work, and my hamstring feels okay. It's not any worse, so that's good news. And I also just had 2 very positive shifts because I was just feeling so burnt out. I'm like, if one more person pisses me off, something really bad is gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna stab somebody.
Yeah.
Something.
Who is pissing you off?
Oh, just the customers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, when you're making good money, I'm like, okay, whatever. I feel like everything rolls off my back. I'm like, okay, go away. Nobody gives a shit about you. But when it's just been really slow, the last like 2 months, so it's just been just extra stressful. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Because this is my main source of income, and it's just weighing on me financially and physically. And then, yeah, my mood was just feeling awful. So I feel like I had 2 really awesome days at work, some really amazing customers, saw a bunch of girls that I love, and just feeling a bit like everything's going to be okay. My body is repairing itself, I think. My mood has stabilized. I did a bunch of stuff in the kitchen yesterday, started organizing, making a list of all the little lingering things that trying to get off the plate before when's the end of retrograde? October 20th?
In the retrograde ends or ended on October 2nd.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, trying to get everything. Well, when's the shadow end?
Shadow ends this week.
Okay, perfect. So I was trying to get all these lingering things off my plate. So we were making a deck for sponsors and finishing these sprays. I resized that. I added this one page that we decided we wanted to add to the deck. And yeah, just feeling like a bit more motivation to accomplish my goals. Because I feel like I just really fell off the wagon and my anxiety level was just like debilitating.
Yeah. The label looks great, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm excited to get the ones that actually fit.
Yeah.
But then after
I mean,
that,
it looks good, the small one, too, but I know you wanted it to be bigger.
Yeah,
So.
I'm really excited. So just feeling like it's going to be okay for this moment, I guess.
Exactly. One moment at a time, you know? And especially, like, the hamstring, that's like that sports injury. Like, whenever you hear of, like, an athlete that has a hamstring injury, like, you know they're going to be out for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably been like an entire month, and it's still like, I would say maybe now it's even like 75% better, but it's just very alarming because you can't do anything. Like the first day I went to work and realized it was really bad, I worked for 5 minutes and went home. I was like, I can walk, but that's all I can do. And you use your leg for everything. So
yeah, well, be careful. You're like in this interesting balance where you don't want to re-injure it, which you can do, I think, with the hamstring.
Yeah, totally.
But you also have to make money. It's a dicey situation.
I know. This has been the most stressful month ever, just not being able to work, but also being like, I have to make sure I take care of myself. What do I do?
Yeah.
What is more important? I feel like I waited till the very end of the month to be like, okay, I literally have to pay rent. So I will just, and I talked to my work and I was like, maybe I don't have to go on stage, or, maybe I go home early, and they were like, okay, whatever you need to do. Like, we're
Good.
happy you're here.
They're supportive.
Yeah, they're good to me.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
So what is in the cards for us this week? Because I peeked at this
Yeah,
alignment
I know,
and there
right?
was
It's
a lot happening.
yes, so if you scroll through, you'll see like it
Oh my
goes
God.
from
Okay.
and it then kind of lessens up through the week.
Yeah, it starts off pretty heavy and then it does look lighter.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, you can see these when you go to the forecast on the website. You see the images, and in our YouTube and the Spotify as well, right?
Yeah, so if you are not familiar with the podcast is meant to be paired with the forecast, which is a blog page on our website, theweeklytransit.com. It shows all the alignments that you see here. If you're not watching, you can go ahead and see our beautiful faces on YouTube or Spotify. And then you can go get the book, The Basics of Astrology. So it's like the book, the podcast, and the blog. They all fit together, and that's how you learn the basics of astrology.
Yes. The book is like it decodes the images.
Yeah, Scott draws all these crazy pictures. So if you don't know the language of astrology, then yeah, it really just helps to use your intuition when we're looking at the alignments, as opposed to just Scott telling me what he thinks. I'm able to kind of absorb it more. Like, I use his questions. And also, if you go to the website, the blog has all of the questions he asks me here, so you can follow along with like journal prompts and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Oh, and
yeah.
Oh, before we move into the week, would you like to thank our sponsors?
Yes, I would like to thank our sponsors, and I do want to talk about one thing after I thank our sponsors too. So, but first, yes, I do want to thank our sponsors: Larry, Deborah, Haley, Libby, Abby, Clarissa, Janine, Ricky, Amaranth, Vincent and Michelle, Catherine, Merdanis, Brenna, Stephanie, Grace, Lori, Carrie, Annie, Brooke, Joanne, and Amber.
Thank you all so much for your generosity and for appreciating what we do. It allows us to spend more time doing what we love, sharing the planets and stars with you. And if you'd like to support the podcast, if you go to any of the show notes, there's a support link and you can donate $1, $5, or $10. Buy us a cup of coffee and we will be very happy.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ingrid. I wanted to talk about the cosmic pathway. We haven't talked about that in a couple months, and I just wanted to share that with any of our new listeners or anyone who is new to me and what I do. And what the cosmic pathway is it's where I meet with several clients every week. And so if you're curious about how these transits are affecting you directly and how they'll be affecting you through the week and in the weeks ahead and the months ahead, then that's what the cosmic pathway is about. It's a
long-term commitment with Scott. Instead of most people, I mean, my recommendation is always, if you're going through a big life change, a breakup, a new job, or if you're feeling really stuck, a reading can really help you answer some like big questions you have about yourself. So a lot of transitional times is when you would look for a reading. But if you want to really go deeper, the cosmic pathway, you meet with Scott every single week and you go really deep. So it's much more like a therapy session or a coach or something of this sort. And I mean, if you've been following the podcast for a while, that's kind of what he does with me here. It's just every single week we get to talk, we get to go over what's happening in my chart and really work with the energy to make really big life changes.
yes.
So if you're ready to go deep, this is the path. And Scott, this is his favorite thing that he does is the cosmic pathway, because he likes to go deep. He would much prefer to see someone on a regular basis and really get to know all the aspects of their life so he can really help them.
Absolutely. That's what I love. I love, like Ingrid says, getting deep into your mess, you know?
It's like he's like the Marie Kondo of like spirituality.
Yes, the astrological Marie Kondo. Like, let's get into your mess. Let's see how we can reorganize and work through any bad habits and break them down and recreate new habits that are healthier for you, that are more in alignment with your North Node, your soul's purpose. So life will find more of a flow for you.
Yeah, and it gets really scary once you start unpacking your baggage, like just like the Marie Kondo reference. It's like once you take it all out, then you're like overwhelmed. You're like, no, 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 I gotta put it back in. That's just it's too much. So having someone to hold your hand and really help you just put everything where it needs to be and see things clearly is really amazing.
Yes, and thank you, Ingrid.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you're interested in the cosmic pathway, and you're somebody who's had a reading with me before, then contact me, email me. If you haven't had a reading with me before, I would recommend that you would get a reading first and meet me and see how I work and see if it works with you, if we vibe, and if it's something that you would be interested in. Yes. So that's that. Now we'll get into the week of October 10th through the 16th. And it begins on Monday, October 10th, very intensely. We're looking at, what's that? I can't even count. 7 planets right now. This is like we're introducing the week, and I think of astrology as like music. And this is like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, where it starts very intensely, very loudly.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like stacked on top of each other.
Yes. So number 1, we've got Mercury, the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination, in the cardinal air sign symbolized by the scales, Libra. Mercury begins its second transit through Libra. It did dip into Libra back between August 25th and September 23rd, and then retrograded back out on September 23rd. So it only touched the first 8 degrees and moved back, but now it starts again on October 10th, and it's going to be in Libra until October 29th. So that's 19 days. It's moving quickly now. It's starting to pick up pace, Mercury, after the retrograde. The last time Mercury was in Libra through the whole sign was August 29th to November 5th, 2021. So that was an extended period because that period Mercury was retrograde in Libra in 2021. So this is a longer transit as well, but it's split into 2. So this is about making peace. How can you make peace in your close personal relationships? How can you speak with greater eloquence and grace in order to get the message across?
I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is communication. And like Mercury is the conscious mind, so understanding ourselves better so we can articulate what we really want to say.
Yes.
In an eloquent way, because it's in Libra. So balance, grace, harmony, expressing ourselves in the way that we would like in these relationships. So maybe we kind of practiced it last year possibly, and then again in August, and now again in October.
Yes, well, in September, it was August 25th to September 23rd.
Okay.
So it's, when you say communication, I think listening.
Okay.
So it's not just about me speaking eloquently and gracefully to you. It's also about me giving you the space to share what you have to share, and me having the grace to actually listen to what you're saying, process what you're saying, and then maybe follow up with some questions to receive more of that insight of what you're trying to share with me about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that always comes to my mind when I think of communication is speaking. So it's such an amazing reminder. It's like, oh, communication is a two-way street, and being able to receive and then respond. Like the response is so key. Like if we don't respond well, then the communication is not going to go, it's not going to be.
Well, the only way you're going to respond well is if you're actually listening to the person. And so often when we're in conversation with somebody, it's like you're not listening to what the other person is saying, and you're just waiting for your turn. You're formulating what it is you want to say, what you need to tell the other person, rather than actually listening to what the other person is saying to you. And that creates miscommunication and friction.
Well, I mean, I'm seeing it connecting to Chiron and Aries.
Well, that's okay. So now we'll move forward. That's Venus. Venus is also in Libra with Mercury. Mercury is beginning transit in Libra, but Venus is 14 degrees ahead of Mercury in Libra, opposing Chiron, the wound, and the ancient wisdom that is unlocked through healing that wound, in the cardinal fire sign of Aries. Now, of course, Venus is Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, and the planetary ruler of Venus. So Venus is in a position of power, opposing the wound. This is an opportunity for us to really look at our insecurities in relationships. Why am I afraid to listen? Why do I always need to be the one that's saying what needs to be said? Why can't I just sit quietly and let the other person talk? Am I afraid what they're going to say to me?
I mean, I feel like it's a defensiveness that I see. Like Aries is usually like kind of hot-headed. So it's just like, no, like, I don't want to hear that. It's too, like you said, it's too uncomfortable. Like, why can't I sit with it and listen to the other person without having a rebuttal? Like,
and when that defensiveness comes up, though, like, where does that come from? It comes from insecurity and fear. That's the shadow side of Aries, is the insecurity and fear. So we need to take the initiative and check in with ourselves. Am I loving myself? And if I'm loving myself, do I have the patience to allow the other person to just say what they need to say? And maybe if I just let them say what they have to say, then they'll give me the space to also communicate. And if they don't, well, then maybe that says that I need to adjust this relationship. It's not meant to be something that I want to be involved in. Yeah. So this is how we find peace. And we said it in last week's episode, but when I think of these planets moving through Libra, Mercury, Venus, and the Sun, which we're not talking about today, but we will later in the week, it's about bridging the gap. And if you can't bridge the gap, then if you're being authentic, then hopefully you and the other person can walk away in peace.
Okay, I can't help but start to like look at the other ones. I'm seeing there's like a jet. Okay.
What do you see?
I see Mars in Gemini, so
yes.
Like communication, kind of this go energy, connecting in an uncomfortable way with, is it Neptune?
Yes.
In Pisces. So this is our subconscious and things are kind of cloudy.
Yeah.
It's like, so maybe we should be listening and like allowing space to receive the information, but we're also having an energy that's just like maybe spitting things out before we have like cleared the clouds in our mind to communicate properly. So it's like, again, that whatever things from our past are sitting in here and they're lingering, and that's like making us say things that maybe we shouldn't be saying because we don't even understand why we're reacting this way. So healing some of these wounds and really sitting in our subconscious and sorting some shit out before we just blurt the first thing out that comes to our mind.
Because we may be confused.
Yeah.
And not clear about what even is going on in the situation.
Yeah, we're just being reactive.
Yes, okay.
We're not even hearing the person or allowing them to speak. We're just like, oh, they're insulting me. Like, you're just telling me I'm a piece of shit. It's like,
actually, no, that's not what I was trying to do.
Yeah, I was trying to communicate so we can like grow our relationship. And so sometimes that's a little uncomfortable. I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm doing it because I care. Like usually people aren't bringing up an issue because they fucking hate you. Otherwise they would just be like, bye, I go away.
Right.
Usually
exactly.
If we're communicating, hey, I want to share something with you, it's because
they care.
Yeah, and they want to fix it.
Yes.
Or they want to know, maybe something's hurting their feelings and they want to know why. Like, it's not always good to just make a fight out of everything. A conflict doesn't necessarily need to be a fight.
Well, and this is the challenge here because Mars is the god of war and it's in the sign of communication. So communication may be a little hot right now. And it may be even hotter because of this squaring of Neptune. because there's challenge, like you're saying, with connecting the unconscious to the conscious, and then taking that conscious and communicating it. It may be coming from a place of total confusion rather than clarity. So we really want to kind of pump the brakes right now. And this is an alignment that we're going to be talking about for many days this week, because it lingers, this Mars, Neptune. They've already been squaring each other, but this is the first day that they're at the same degree. And Mars is slowing down because it's going to begin its retrograde transit the end of October, just a few weeks away.
So this is just like, get ready to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
Or feeling, it's kind of like a push-pull energy. If Mars is going backwards and it wants to go forwards, it's like a lot of friction.
Yes. It is a lot of friction. I feel like this is, I just keep thinking of that scene in like Star Wars where Luke Skywalker is like fighting with like a blindfold on or something with his lightsaber. You know, it's like you have to sense where the thing is. You should be able to fight with your eyes closed because you just feel the energy. That's kind of what we're learning here. And so we might be panicked at first because we can't see and we're just swinging haymakers everywhere. But you want to just sit in the discomfort a little bit, and Mars is churning something up in your unconscious. If somebody is bothering you or triggering you or whatever the word is you want to use there, what is going on inside of you? What is it about that person that is upsetting you? They are maybe, most likely, reflecting something about yourself that you need to work through. And that's why that person is there, is to help you work through. It's not that they know that they're trying to help you work through it, but in the overarching grand scheme of we're all one in the universe, learning these lessons together, that's what's happening here. And then when you have Saturn, the planet of restriction and responsibility, the god of wealth and time, in the fixed air sign of Aquarius, symbolized by the water bearer. Saturn's the planetary ruler of Aquarius. Neptune's the planetary ruler of Pisces. So we've got 3 planets that we're looking at today that are all in positions of power. What that tells me is we're being invited to level up. We're being given strength in certain areas. We're Venus bringing that strength to relationships, Neptune bringing that strength to the unconscious, and Saturn bringing that strength to our responsibility to the group, to the community. Saturn is squaring off with Uranus. We talked about this all last week. Uranus is the primordial sky god, the planet of revolution, rebellion, innovation, independence, and the unexpected. It's also the planetary ruler of Aquarius, but it's in the fixed earth sign symbolized by the bull, Taurus, squaring off with Saturn. So the planet of restriction squaring off with the planet of rebellion. This is something that's been occurring for the last 10 days at the same degree, since September 30th. And so it's intense.
It just makes me think like the visual would be like, kind of like someone's like smothering you with a blanket or something and you're just trying to like rip it off. You're like, get the fuck off of me.
Yeah, that's
like,
a great visual.
And maybe that's the idea, like you want to express yourself, but you don't know how to do it gracefully because you feel like you're being smothered. So before you just explode out of it, kind of sorting through your unconscious, sorting through some shit before you just respond to whatever someone's saying. Like maybe the restriction is not meant to smother you. Maybe it's just meant to help you take responsibility for yourself. And that's nobody likes a lesson like that.
No, like what does that mean? What does that mean to take responsibility for yourself? You know, that's something that...
Well, somebody saying something like, oh, I feel like you don't listen to me.
Oh, that's a tough one.
And you're like, yes, I fucking do.
Yeah.
I always listen.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, I wasn't saying it to start a fight. I was saying it because I feel like it's true, and I would like you to work on it so we can have a better relationship.
Okay, well, can you explain to me why I haven't listened to you or why you feel that way? I mean, maybe that's like the next question.
That would be the perfect response if we're being mindful about this alignment. That would be exactly how we need to respond instead of saying, yes, I fucking do. Yes, I always listen. Like, that's not helpful.
And that yes, I fucking do. Yes, I always listen. That is what Mars is doing with this transit, this long transit through Gemini. It's breaking us out of that know-it-all prison.
We don't know it all.
We don't. We don't. It's giving us the courage to ask questions. Okay, you think that I don't listen to you?
Yeah, why?
Okay, well, can you explain that to me? Can you help me understand? Because I feel like I listen to you. But, like, when have you felt like you're not heard or seen by me?
Yeah.
Can you please articulate that to me?
Yeah, that's just such a perfect example of being curious instead of being defensive.
That's it. Courageously curious. That's what Mars in Gemini is all about. So Tuesday, October 11th, we're looking at Mars and Neptune again, squaring off, and also Saturn and Uranus squaring off, just as we were talking about on Monday. But then we also have two other planets that have come into alignment here. We have the Moon, the planet of emotions, in Taurus, conjunct at the same degree as Uranus, also squaring off in a fight with Saturn, while Saturn is forming a trine, a supportive aspect with the Sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality in Libra, while the Sun forms an in conjunction with, which is uncomfy, with the Moon and Uranus. So we're getting more of the same notes that we received on Monday, but it's a little more nuanced and maybe a little more heightened as well, because the Sun and the Moon are the most influential planets to Earth. And so the Sun is now at the same degree as the Moon, as Uranus, as Saturn, where we're really being called to look at our emotions. What do you value? What is my self-worth? The reason why I feel like you don't listen to me is because I asked you to do these things and you just completely ignored them, or you didn't hear me. And it's important to me, my value, when I ask somebody that I'm in relationship with, that I have an agreement with, to do something for me that we have agreed to, and you don't do it, I feel disrespected.
I mean, if somebody said that to me, I would be like, fuck, I don't want to make you feel like that. You know, it was an accident. I didn't do it on purpose. Like, okay. I'm going to have to be more aware. I fell off. I dropped the ball, and I'm going to do better.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ingrid. Oh.
And that I'm also seeing Taurus as like the material world. So how is that really affecting our life in the material plane? Like, that is going to really impact our relationships deeply.
Yes.
If I respond with, yeah, I'm so sorry I did that, instead of being like, yes, I did. Yeah. Like, you just need to be more patient with me, or I have a lot going on, or you can make an excuse. Yeah, we all have a lot going on. And you can even say that, like, I have a lot going on, but taking the responsibility, I dropped the ball. I want to do better, because that person is not going to want to stay in a partnership if they're not being heard, and especially when they come to you with a big concern.
Yes.
So really trying to stay open and curious again.
When you talk about the material, and I think about this alignment, I just think of, you know, when this alignment first occurred was back in early 2021, and then again in late 2021, and now here it is again in 2022. This is like the material is getting squeezed. And
it's getting squeezed
exactly.
Right now.
You were talking about it at the top of the show, you know, about how things are slow at work. Less people are coming into the club. There's a strain on the finances and the financials, and people are feeling like, oh my God, am I going to be able to afford this, that, or the next thing? It's this financial crunch. And it's occurring, I believe, because of this alignment. So hopefully once it loosens up, into the holidays, there's more money flowing or whatever. But what this alignment is doing is when money gets tight in relationships, that's when like the facades come down with the partners, right?
100%.
It's like it gets stressful. And well, why are you spending money on this? And I can't afford that. We can't afford this. And all these relationships, so many relationships I feel like end because of financial strain. So how can we find grace together? Can we agree on what's important and where we're spending the money, and making sure that we're both in agreement that this is a good place to be spending the money that we're receiving in return, has value? Yeah.
I mean, it's all just communication. The more we communicate about things, the easier it's going to be. It's like if we don't get it out, we don't stay curious, we don't have the courage to face that things might be uncomfortable, it's only just going to get worse and worse, and they're going to blow up.
Exactly. And so understanding that there's yesterday we were talking about 3 planets that are in positions of power because they're in the signs that they rule. But today we're talking about Saturn and Neptune. They're both in positions of power. The moon also in a position of power because it's exalted in Taurus. So this is really, we're being invited to, through the tension, grow out of it.
Yeah.
And really recognize, am I being too worried about the future?
Yeah.
Let's ground into reality right now. And am I beating myself up for the past? What's going on in my unconscious? What are those unconscious fears?
Yeah.
Are they from a place of scarcity? Like, oh my God, it's like, my ancestors survived a genocide. Talk about scarcity, like you're afraid for your lives. And so that trickles down. And so how do I work through that and find peace in that, and recognizing that we're all a part of the universe and I am abundant? That's the challenge of this week, this time period. And it continues on Wednesday.
I don't even really see the difference between today and Monday.
You don't?
There's just, there's so many of the same
Can you go back and forth between the the 2 days like this, up, down, up, like...
It's all the same.
Look.
The only thing that's different is...
Look.
I'm doing that same thing.
Yeah. So there's 4 planets that are the same. 4 planets are the same, and then there's 2 planets are different, and the same is for Wednesday. There's 4 planets that are the same, but then 2 are different.
I'm talking about Wednesday.
Oh, I thought you said Monday.
I'm talking about Monday and Wednesday. They look so similar.
Oh, Monday and Wednesday look similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do look similar. And the reason is because we've got, on Monday, we had 2 planets opposing each other, one in Libra, one in Aries. That was Venus and Chiron. And then Wednesday, we've got Mercury in Libra opposing Jupiter in Aries.
Oh, I see. Just the planets have changed.
2 different planets. Same signs, different planets. So it's like playing the same note with a different instrument.
So we moved from relationships to more communication about them. And then, what was the first one? And then instead of our wound, we're like expanding. So this is giving us the courage. So what we're talking about here. So we're looking at Mercury in Libra opposing Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of expansion, in Aries, expanding our self-confidence. So if you have been like hesitant to say what you needed to say on Monday, Tuesday, by the time we get to Wednesday, now maybe you have the courage to open up and say, this is what I have to say. I need to ask you a question.
I need to initiate this conversation. Something's bothering me in my mind. Maybe I'm just going crazy in my mind. I need you to help me. I need to reflect something off of you. I've been noticing your behavior, or you haven't been listening to me. And is that intentional? Are you not hearing me? What's going on here?
I mean, I think it's being direct, but also being curious and being graceful about it. There is an art to that.
Yes, there is.
As we have practiced, maybe if we have been talking about it Monday and Tuesday, it's like Wednesday, we're going to be able to just be more graceful about, just staying curious, asking the questions without it feeling like so like agitating and uncomfortable.
And this to me feels like walking sort of the tightrope of, being graceful up there on the tightrope with, and it looks like a tightrope with the opposition, but, because you still have Saturn and Uranus. This is the last day we'll be talking about these two. But then there's Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus, and then Mars in Gemini squaring off with Neptune in Pisces. So still that tension where we're working out and we are restructuring our value so that I feel like I am financially independent. I have everything that I need, but I'm still taking responsibility for the group in a way that the group feels value from me and I feel value from the group. So working together in that way. Then Mars and Neptune, again, it's like slowing down with the communication, really going deep within yourself. Where are these thoughts coming from? Where does this fear come from? When was the last time I felt this way? When was the first time I felt this way?
I mean, I'm already looking at Thursday, and whatever you just said right there, I feel like that's really the focus of Thursday. All these external uncomfortable things that are weighing on us. Now we're really having space to delve into the subconscious and ask those questions, like really reflecting on why. What is in there that's making me feel that way?
Yeah, so Thursday we're looking at still Mars squaring Neptune, but Saturn is still in the picture. But now Uranus has moved back to 17 degrees, so it's not in the picture here, though it is still affecting Saturn. But Venus has moved on to 18 degrees in Libra. So this is an air-air connection between Venus, relationships, and Saturn, responsibility. So through having the courage to initiate the conversation on Monday, Tuesday, or definitely by Wednesday, now hopefully you're feeling some grace in the relationship where it's like, okay, I see you, I understand what it is you need from me, and I'm willing to take responsibility for that. But in exchange, I need this from you. And you say?
I don't know. What do I say?
You say yes, of course.
Okay, yeah.
Like I'm going to,
Yeah.
I will take responsibility for my part. So that's what.
Yeah, that's the Libra energy, is putting something on both sides of the scales. I'll do this for you if you do this for me.
Yes.
And that's going to balance it all out.
Yes, but the Saturn is taking responsibility for my side.
Okay.
I'm going to take responsibility for my side, but I'm also going to hold you accountable for what I need from you.
So instead of just saying like, okay, fine, I'll be a better listener if you like make sure you pick up around the house, it's like, I realized that I wasn't actually listening.
I would say it's like, look, this is why I have trouble listening to you. Because
you're mean, like maybe you say it and you're like mean about it or something.
Well, you want to be graceful and in how you communicate it, but you're like, you're right. I haven't listened. I need to be a better listener. I will take responsibility for that. I need to be a better listener. But I need you to communicate to me in this sort of way. When you talk, it's just like you speak and you just carry on and ramble and you go so many different places. It's hard for me to follow. So if you could maybe create like some kind of checklist for me to like, what are the highlights? What are the bullet points that I need to gather from this?
Okay, so basing it around whatever the focus of the issue is. If it's listening, then the give and take within that situation, not like a separate issue. Like I said, like the house or something has nothing to do with that. It's I'll be a better listener if you can communicate in a way that I'm able to like absorb.
Yes, it's like you said, communication is a two-way street. So yes, I need to listen, but maybe there's something about the way that you're communicating that can improve and help me absorb what it is you're trying to share with me.
Especially when we're talking about the subconscious, it's like, oh, maybe this is like a trigger from my past. So when you say it like this, it makes it feel like you're my mom. So maybe if you can just not do that, that would be
Exactly.
great. And then I
Exactly.
can hear you.
When you're speaking to me, it feels like you're attacking me, and that's when I tune out because that's my dad, or
Yeah.
that's, my mom, or whatever, my brother, sister. Friday, October 14th. Now the moon is transited into Gemini, and it forms a conjunction with Mars, squaring off with Neptune in Pisces. So we've made the truce, and now we get the first challenge, where the moon is in Gemini, and Gemini is glib, and so the emotions want to keep things light and airy. Where it squares off with Neptune, Neptune is in Pisces. That's deep. That's heavy. So, I asked you to communicate a certain way with me, and you're not really being sensitive to my feelings.
I'm feeling like someone is being like sarcastic and short.
Exactly.
You're just like, oh my God, like you're too much. Not like how much can I give?
This is not a joke, okay? Like, what I just shared with you is not something that I'm looking for you to lighten up. I want you to feel what I'm feeling. And so this is why I said I tune out when you speak to me, because I try to tell you something serious to me,
You're
something
like
that's heavy to me,
making fun
something
of
that's
me?
deep in my unconscious, and you're like, making a joke of it.
Yeah, don't maybe not tapping into that energy where like maybe you want to laugh at the other person and be like, oh my God, you're just always like this. It's like, that's not funny. Yeah, I am like this because you're like that.
Well, and that maybe that's the flip side, is that, I hear what you're saying, but you are so dark and heavy all the time that I can't take it. I need to lighten it up sometimes. That's just how I do it. So I don't know how we can bridge this gap here, but I will try to be more sensitive with you, but I also need you to not dump so much onto me, because it's too much.
Yeah, it's about having a balance.
Yes, the balance. And so the emotions could get a little messier on Saturday, October 15th, because the moon transits into Cancer, the sign that it rules, and it squares off with Jupiter in Aries. Cancer, cardinal water, Aries, cardinal fire. Both cardinal make a strong alignment, but fire boils water and water extinguishes fire. So now we have this big emotional expression because the emotions are aligning with Jupiter, Jupiter's expansion, expanding the emotions, and it becomes a mess.
Yeah, this whole week seems pretty fucking messy. I was just like, oh, and now we're having like some more like agitation, like deeper emotions with Aries energy. No, like Aries is just, I feel like it can just be really mean and really harsh, and it's like cutting right through to your like.
It can be, absolutely. And maybe it's forcing you to look into your past, in some areas of your past, your childhood that you don't want to look at. It's expanding your emotions. The emotions are rooted in the past. So why is this upsetting me so much? Where does this come from?
And I think that's like, we're talking about relationships. It's like on both sides of the scale. Why is this person like dumping all over the other person and not letting them breathe? And why is this person having trouble receiving the message? There's something for both of these people to look into why they are the way they are.
Exactly.
And then once we get that, like, those are the key things that once we share that with the other person, it can bring about compassion and healing when you're like, this reminds me of my childhood, or this is why I do what I do. We're like, oh, fuck. It's all based in our past. Like, it has nothing to even do with this moment. It's not that big of a deal. It's like, I need to have compassion for where we both came from so we can understand each other better.
Yes. Yes. How can we nurture each other through these difficult moments?
Yeah.
That's what we need right now. Nurturing, caring, kindness.
Ah.
Sunday, October 16th, the chart has suddenly gotten lighter. On Monday, we were looking at 7 planets, and then Sunday, we're looking at 1 planet. Mercury, the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination. In the cardinal air sign, symbolized by the scales, Libra. Here at 8 degrees. Do you know why this is here, Ingrid?
It's end of retrograde.
End of retrograde.
Shadow.
Yes, exactly. Yes, so I like to think of it as like this week is crunchy and bumpy and full of conflict, but by the time we get to Sunday, we've done the work to dig into our unconscious, to reflect upon our past and why we think the way that we do. Do our best to share ourselves with those that we're in relationship with so that they can see and understand us better, and then being open for them and encouraging for them to show themselves to us so that we can see and understand them. And by the time we get to Sunday, we're starting a new cycle. We're out of retrograde. Mercury's not going to be retrograde again until the end of December. So this is your final push for the year. Like, if we go back to the beginning of the retrograde, the retrograde shadow started on August 20th. That was like 2 months ago. And at that point, what did we say? We said, where do you want to be by October 16th? Mm-hmm. What is on your plate right now? And where do you want everything on your plate to be or off your plate by October 16th? So that now that we're here on October 16th, we can start moving forward and starting new projects and focusing on what we want to get into for 2023. And if you want to learn what's in store for you for 2023, contact me for a reading. My calendar fills up quickly, so get in now. There's only, now we're 2.5 months away from the end of the year. So this is the time to push forward towards what you want to set yourself up for 2023.
And I mean, and going back to the alignment, this is kind of like the calm after the storm. It's like, now we did all this work and now we're able to like see things clearly, communicate clearly. It's feeling lighter. And that's also going to give us the energy to look forward to the end of the year. We're like, okay, we got all this stuff off of our back. Now we can look forward, make some plans on how to finish out our year, what we want to accomplish next year. How do we like get everything squared away before we're starting new?
Mm-hmm. That's it. Let's get lighter so we can flow and add new things from now to the end of the year. Yes.
Anything else today, Scott?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Are we going to do questions?
No. I'm burnt out.
Ingrid's done.
Well, thank you so much, Scott.
You're welcome.
We'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. Follow us on Instagram for daily updates about the planetary alignments and how to work with the energy. If this podcast is helping you navigate life more gracefully, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and share with your friends. If you're ready to go deeper, book a personal reading with Scott or sign up for his new moon, full moon class at theweeklytransit.com.
The Weekly Transit.